Welcome back. You're now watching the political segment on the weekend show. It's election season, it's election week, and that's all we've been talking about for the last couple of months, and we had the presidential election. Nigeria now has a president-elect in the name of Bola Ahmed Asuwaju Tinubu. He won the election according to INEC, and the APC can boast of having at least 25% in 29 states. He won with over 35% of the votes and is now declared and has been given the certificate of return as the president-elect of Nigeria. However, Nigerians came out for elections. We saw a lot of enthusiasm in the coming weeks to the elections, where we expected unprecedented numbers of voters to participate in the elections. However, we understand that the turnout reduced from 35% in 2019 to about 25% in the last week. What happened? What's our take on the conduct of the elections? How did INEC fare? They promised electronic transmission of votes. Did that happen? We heard that opposition party have claimed that the INEC portal wasn't working. The APC have claimed that opposition hired hackers to take the portal down. However, it's up to our guests to tell us what they felt about the elections and hear their thoughts. Joining us, we have
Lami Apedroye. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning, thanks for having me again.
Yes, and we have Oyi Adeyemi. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Thank you. We'll start with you, Lami. You were very vocal before the election. We said young people were going to vote. We said Nigerians were going to vote. But we've seen 25% of people voting. What's your overall overview of the presidential elections which held last week, Saturday?
First of all, can you blame them for voter suppression? I left my house at 9 a.m. and at about 10 o'clock I already saw that thugs were beating people because they heard or that they were trying to avert people from voting for a particular political party as opposed to theirs. If I see that and I'm preparing to leave the house to vote, I don't think I love Nigeria enough for me to go and vote, seeing that thugs were beating people up and chasing them back. How can you blame them? Okay, we also have the fact that some INEC officials didn't get to polling units till 2 p.m. Lugbe, they started voting, they didn't get to them at 3 o'clock when we were on the queue to vote in Guampa. In Lugbe, they didn't have polling agents there, and INEC is coming to tell us that they didn't have, or some polling agents did not know the polling units. They had to find that morning. There was no prior preparation to the elections. Look, Andy, we cannot sit here and act like everything is okay. This election was a mess. We had Jega, who we're still complaining about that, but he was credible enough to do things the right way. At least he didn't lie that he was going to, do electronic transmission. He didn't bother that because they were not ready for it. So if you're not ready for something, it's okay not to do it. But if you're going to do something, do it well. This was done poorly. People were beaten. The security agents they deployed to, keep the peace were doing nothing. They were standing and keeping mum. It was an absolute mess. And rightly so, okay, you didn't even say that, but a lot of people are not happy. A lot of people know this. It doesn't feel like a win. It doesn't feel like a new Nigeria. It feels like the same old thing that we've been talking about. You cannot expect people to show up when people are being beat up. There's tribal laws and saying if you're not voting for a party, leave the polling unit. I would leave because I don't want to get killed. I don't want to get beaten. We saw polling agents that were in NYC. They were beating and they were bloodied in River State. How is that acceptable? How is there no consequence for that? How was that election not even cancelled in that state given that particular scenario? So you cannot blame people. I know that there was more enthusiasm. I know that we went to churches, people went to mosques, people went to, places that, we know that people had sentiments about elections to come out and vote. People were ready to vote. But when you see people being suppressed, when you see people getting beaten and killed, look at the woman that literally voted with her eye plastered. Left her house with 2 eyes, but left with 1.5. How is that acceptable?
We'll come back to that. Woye.
Could you also share your own thoughts and experiences during the election?
Well, I voted, and I didn't witness any voters' suppression in Abuja here. And from the reports I got from even observers, I don't think we have perhaps maybe 5% or 10%, violent issues within the system. The election is credible and it's free.
Compared to 2019 and now, Woye, which of the elections will you rate for better conduct, especially when it comes to free and fair elections, considering you say maybe 5-10% of disruptions? Will you say we're progressing or regressing?
We're progressing.
Absolutely not.
We're
And again, I
progressing.
must say that
I-
1% is enough to
you
make it
asked me
bad.
a question.
I must say
so,
that.
so let's
You asked
let
me a
wait.
question. I
Yes.
not. You spoke. I did not interfere. So I'm just saying we are progressing very well. I mean, from card readers, we are beavers now. That's a step ahead.
Beavers didn't work though. I mean, let's be honest.
Beavers works. Oh, can you allow me? Can you allow me to talk, my dear friend? So beavers works. So the question of the main issue is about transmission of election results. So everybody was accredited. At the point, nobody is complaining about I was not accredited. Of course, you can have overvoting or undervoting. Because you can vote for somebody in a presidential election, and then you can decide to vote for House of Rep or Senate. But the fact is that if you look at the report of observers, the intent of observers, we have less than 10% problematic areas, unlike 2015. If you look at the reports, just take the report of independent observers. It's not about INEC or government report. Independent observers.
I don't think you can judge by independent observers. We're judging by people that were on ground. We're judging by people that were on the streets. People that were beaten.
You are not.
Independent,
you are not
independent observers
everywhere.
were shielded.
You are
They
not-
went to particular.
No, you are not
independent
everywhere. On the day
officials
of
go
election.
to the Oba's Palace in Lagos where people were beaten. Did they go there?
Were you there?
Didn't we see videos?
No, were you there?
Didn't we see videos?
Anybody can get the video.
Okay, but Connected Development and YAIGA in their preliminary reports also reported cases of suppression and violence
And the
in
observers.
polling units. Now, and I know Connected Development Code had 20,000 observers in the country. And so, Woye, do you think that what you're saying is factually correct? Because we have had these people come out to say this has happened, and these are local observers. And the reason why I guess Sulami is trying to say that is that most of the international observers get their fancy jeeps and police officers, and they're taken
And
to
they're
just
told where
certain
to go.
places in urban areas, which doesn't account for the local communities. So, are you being factual when you say?
I read their interim reports. I was only in a polling unit in Abuja. So the other issues you are raising right now are the issues that I said you said. So I'm talking about local and foreign international observers. That interim report was submitted. I have not said there was no voters suppression. What I'm saying is that the percentage is an issue. What I'm telling you that is still within 10%. In election management, when you look at the percentage of what you call international best practices of election suppression, what is the figure? What is the figure?
You tell us.
So if you have a figure, and vis-a-vis what happened in your country, that is a measurement. We must have a base, a foundation level. So if you can tell me that, okay, fine, you have suppression in about 50%, then the election is not credible.
Okay, we have Ilamuna who just joined us. Good morning. Hi. Thanks for joining us. So we've been talking about the elections and low voter turnout as well. And in a country where we don't have an accurate figure of our population, we can't today accurately say the number of people in Nigeria who are above 18. Not everyone has a BVN, NI, and international passport. All these things that need biometrics that could help get an accurate figure. So on what grounds can we say there was low voter turnout when we don't even know the figures?
I think that you should benchmark the turnout against the number of registered voters or the number of PVCs collected. According to INEC data, 94 million registered voters, 87 million PVCs, 87 or 84 million PVCs collected. 87 million PVCs collected. So we have to benchmark against that number. This is not discountenancing what you say about our wonky population figures, because they are wonky, to be honest. But you have to benchmark it against the number of PVCs collected. Now, if we have PVCs collected of 87 million and 25 million people vote, that's maybe 20%, 21%?
25%.
100%.
That's low voter turnout. That on its own is low voter turnout. And we're completely, if we look at the figures over the years, it makes you question, are we experiencing voter turnout, or are we experiencing innovation that improves the credibility of the process? It's a conversation to be had there. Because over the years, you see the number of people who vote reduce. I think it was 30, how many million? It was roughly 30 million last election.
32%.
But it was,
So we had about 35% in the last election,
Yeah.
but now we have about 24,
It then depends on the
25%
numbers.
in this election. So now.
now, we contend certain things from the People's Democratic Party, right? We contend certain things. We believe that the number was higher. But we also contend that there was a high level of disenfranchising voters across the country. We believe that there was a high level of manipulation of the results across the country. And so, even with what we have as official figures, we believe that it was higher. And we believe that in the process of manipulating the results, that we were now compelled to see this lower number. That's what we believe in the People's Democratic Party. And we have the evidence to prove it.
Okay, we'll come to that manipulation, but while we're still setting the scene, Lami is of the opinion that the election wasn't the fairest when it comes to suppression of votes and oppression of voters. Woye is of the opinion that it was quite a fair percentage if the violence and suppression is about 5 to 10%. Do you feel the conduct of the election, and now this is regardless of the parties, do you think the conduct of the election was fair and transparent?
No, I don't think so. And very straight away. Over the course of the last few years, we worked towards the achievement of a new Electoral Act that was supposed to bring certain innovation to improve the transparency of the process, to improve the credibility of the process. That innovation was not applied in the election. Anybody who is a political player who understands a little bit of the way Nigeria's election collation processes work, our result collation processes work, will know why BVAS was set up, will know why e-transmission of results was set up, will know why IREV was set up. 3 things. Now, BVAS was set up so that we can ensure that only validly registered people vote. There's only the person who holds or owns the PVC that votes. That worked relatively. Yeah? Now, to improve the credibility of the process, the BVAS data ought to have been uploaded real time. So that sitting down, looking at a screen, we're able to say, in polling unit A, ward B, local government C, of D state, this number of people were accredited to vote. Right? Electronic transmission of results, innovation, direct from the polling unit to a central server, was an innovation to bypass the manipulation of results that goes on at the ward collation and at the local government collation centers. Yep. That is where results are rigged. Results are not rigged at the state or at the federal. Mm-hmm. They are rigged at the ward and the local government collation centers. Why those 2 places? That's the first place where people have a snapshot of what went on where. Right? And that's the first place where anybody is able to say, oh, I'm losing, I need to manipulate. Or I'm losing in this ward, I'm winning in that ward, I need these sorts of figures. And then the manipulation can start getting done. So the e-transmission of results was to make sure that our results are not in a place where people can manipulate them. that they go directly from the purview of the voters to a central server, bypassing that process. And then IREV was so that everybody can see online real time. This is exactly what is going on across the 176,000 plus polling units. Now, this was established by law. Ab initio, it's a condition precedent that for the outcome of the elections to be valid, for the results to be valid, this must have been done. We know that it's a condition precedent because INEC told us so. Now, in law, if a condition precedent isn't fulfilled, you have an invalid transaction.
Ology, isn't there a problem with the Electoral Act? Because while we celebrated the Electoral Act as amended, what it did was it gave INEC the power to decide.
Thank you.
Which means at some point they can come out and say, oh, you know what, it's not working, so we change our mind.
What does the new Electoral Act do? One, decide. How does INEC decide? It issues guidelines.
We have a press statement on the screen from INEC where they promised and refuted claims about the BVAS not being used in November.
They decide.
Yeah.
How do they decide? By issuing guidelines. By issuing guidelines, right? Over the course of this electoral cycle, 58 times, the INEC chairman said we're going to do a transmission of results. We're going to do BVAS. Festus Okoye, the director of, what's that, his department now? I can't remember.
Communications.
Yeah, voter education, thank you. 118 times. 118 times said we were going to use BVAS, e-transmission of results, IREF portal. Now, the Electoral Act does not give INEC the power to change the rules in the middle of the game.
Exactly.
Doesn't give them that power. Even if they were going to change the rules, they had to have issued fresh guidelines. It's not something that you can just sit in an office and do. You have to issue guidelines. The only substantive guidelines, the only existing guidelines, the only guidelines that we can refer to, say BVAS, IREV, e-transmission, IREV. That didn't change. So we're asking the question, from the beginning, the contradiction precedent to the validity of the election results does not exist. From day one, from ground zero. On that basis, in the famous words of Lord Denning, you cannot put something on nothing. It will not stand. It will fall.
Lami, based on what Ilamona has said, shouldn't the various RECs and INEC officials that were sent to the various polling units, shouldn't they be held accountable?
Absolutely.
Because of what he said? Because most of the majority of the votes that were taken by voters, the images and all of that from their polling units do not tally with what was presented during collation.
Absolutely. That's why I'm saying that there's been no accountability. Nobody has been held accountable. I mean, we know how these things work. For instance, the BVAS or whatever it is that was compromised, whether it was the e-transmission of the IREV, they do biddings to different companies to come and tender and say, you know what, my company can do this. Why are we not hearing anything from those companies? Why are we hearing rumors that, one company, one of the, I think BVAS was, the bid was won by an APC member. That's why it may have been manipulated. All of this, why are people not being held accountable? Why are we not seeing, why is there nobody behind bars, first of all? Because of this sham that we have witnessed from INEC. Why is it just business as usual? That's the problem. That's why I'm saying that we cannot sit and act like everything is okay just because, somebody has won or has found his way to winning, by whatever, means that they are deployed. So it's unacceptable that we are just carrying on business as usual, as opposed to, parties saying that they are coming to challenge things in court. People should answer for these things not working. If you are going to say something 58 and 118 times, it means that you've done your background check, you've done your work, they've done checks every day, they've collated all the BVAS, they've collected all the IREF portals and said, you know what, we're working and we're good to go. So if it's not working, somebody or people should be behind bars. Mahmoud should not be free and sleeping as if everything is okay. He's failed Nigerians and he should answer.
Yeah, speaking of the INEC chairman, Mahmoud Yakubu, a lot of Nigerians, in fact, there's been an ongoing outcry by lots of Nigerians that he should step down because he lacks the principles and veracity for that office. And he has done, based on the election, what he has done has been terrible.
There's
a lot of people saying that. Do you agree with that?
He should be arrested. And, he should answer questions. What is he stepping down for? Is this not his last tenure? He did two tenures, which shouldn't have happened. He's not only stepping down, he's going down as one of the, one of the most terrible, INEC chairman that Nigeria has ever experienced. And not just that, he shouldn't stop there. He should actually answer questions, because if you're in charge of something, you should be able to answer. That's what accountability is. You shouldn't be business as usual. You're not supposed to go and sleep and say, okay, now I've announced winners and that's it. No. There should be answers to why what you have preferred did not work. Why everything. The only thing that Lemon said is the beavers. Okay, anything can accredit people. My phone, I open it with my face or fingerprints. It's not a difficult feature to come up with. But why are votes not being transmitted the way they should? Why are people not seeing real-time votes? They tested with Oshu and acted like they'd done something fancy, and everybody was excited and said, oh, we can eat Oshu as a yardstick. But why is it not working when it comes to presidential election? It means that they weren't ready. So somebody should be answering questions. It shouldn't be business as usual. Absolutely not. So
just a quick disclaimer, and I hate that we have to do this, but we have to do it. The opinions shared by our guests are the opinions of our guests, and not the weekend show or myself or Didi and I. However, I want to bring Woye in. Your party, the APC, has won the election. In every election, there will be winners and there will be losers. Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the Jagaban of Lagos, the city boy, lost in Lagos State, lost in Abuja, lost in Kaduna, lost in Kano. And I say Kaduna and Kano and Plateau, where his strongest governors and key supporters, he had Ganduje on his campaign team, he had El Rufai, and he had Lalong. He is a Lagosian, and then there's Abuja. He, according to the results, lost. However, he won the general elections. Do you feel this is a victory to be celebrated by your candidate and party?
Sure. But let me go to a point. There are two issues I want to raise. Elections were conducted. The result was declared at the polling unit. So every political parties, they have their result. The result was supposed to be scanned through Beavers, through Potter. So you have your result. Everybody knows it. Everybody has a result. So if I'm sending the text to Lamina,
yes,
I don't get the text on time. If I'm sending money to Lamina, I don't get the money on time.
Wait, I'm going to let you. I'm going to let you.
No.
But okay, please go on.
Let me just clarify the issue. Nobody, the results that have been uploaded now, I've not heard what somebody said. Polling unit A, they wrote 20, and it should be 5.
Okay, so this is why I want to interject for you. I personally, two things. I'm a tech person as well, right? The iRev platform is a poorly designed platform. And I say this because with your iPhone, for instance, if you take a picture and it has text, you can now pinch out that text and put it on a Word document or PDF. Mm-hmm. What the iRev platform and Beavers was meant to do was to be able to, any techie can do it, take a picture and it converts that into a PDF format and then it can be tabulated automatically. I can confirm to you that I went through the iRev portal and I saw Glover Road in Ikoyi having a result for Nasarawa State. Mm-hmm. I saw someone who posted a selfie of herself in the bathroom. And this is not allegedly, I saw this as a result. I also saw a result of somebody saying, please, they are trying to force us to change results. And the person handwritten and posted that. Now, this is why Nigeria, and even till today, about 15,000 polling units haven't been uploaded on that portal. I do agree with you that if you send the text to Lami, it may not go through. But there are a lot of inconsistencies which Nigerians have highlighted on the portal and platform. And I'm not blaming your party now. I'm saying INEC because, but based on what you are saying.
Let me have an idea of how INEC works.
Yes.
One, those guys that got the contract for the Beavers or Cathedral, they've been in INEC system since 1999.
Okay.
So they're not just, I know one or two guys that are a good friend of mine that are supporting another party. I don't want to mention the party.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about whether the chap that got the contract was APC or anything, I know those guys. And I'm sure one of them happen to be our mutual friends.
Okay.
But I don't have to mention the person's name. We have sat down together to relax, to enjoy, to have dinner. So, but that's not the issue right now. Now, the issue is that INEC said they have a technical glitch in their system. Just like this cashless system, you get that most banks you can't use your app. Now, going forward, INEC should be unbundled, like in other countries that are doing election management system. A commission for logistics, a commission for election, a commission for electoral offenses.
So is this you admitting that INEC failed in its responsibility?
I'm not saying, you see, we have to improve. I didn't say, I mean, by today, you are telling me that how many percentage now?
About 15,000 polling units are still yet to be uploaded.
No, I think I read about 145,000 or so.
That's right.
Isn't that more?
No, so that's what I'm saying. There are 176,000
Yeah,
polling units.
we're
About
covered
15
how many percentage now?
No, not the percent. About 15,000 polling units haven't been uploaded.
And I'm very sure that maybe for today or tomorrow, that will have that. But
Let's-
you see,
let's-
but you see,
Hold on, hold on, Lami.
But announced the
results.
results.
Hello.
Let's-
See,
let's-
the fact is, you have a result copy at your PU. Yes or no?
Yes, we do.
He knows, my brother knows here, my friend, that by the time you voted in Asokoro, AIT,
Yes.
if you're my Oga, I'll send to you. I'll have send the picture, the result to you, the
Yes.
copy, result to you. So you know. So you see, in all these scenarios we are putting right now, tribunal has given them access to the INEC materials.
Yes.
Let's go to tribunal.
We're about to take a quick break, but hold on, guys. Woye, I need to give you a chance to answer the question. Why do you think this result should be celebrated by your party?
Oh, I said yes. I said
Why
yes.
do you
Do you have,
justify it?
like, is that your answer? Just
the
cast it first.
election, as far as I'm concerned, was credible and free.
Regardless of the fact that I see the
People were
major
There's no perfect
spokesperson
election in the world.
of your candidate lost in their state.
Yeah, you see,